There are two versions.
Oh, don't start this.
There are two versions.
Here we go.
So we met in July of 2016 at a book launch for Julie Jones. Initially, I didn't think I was gonna be able to go, but 2 days before the event, choir rehearsal was canceled. It's sometimes about who you know. So shout out to Brian and Michelle Gines, favorite couple of mine. They are the publishers of the book. We went to the same church at the time. So I got with Michelle and I said, Michelle, I need a ticket. Got me a ticket and showed up at the event.
So mutual friend Julie Jones, through a mutual friend, she invited me to go. While I was there, I noticed Michelle Gines was kind of orchestrating and kind of getting some things together for drinks and cake and things like that. I just happened to notice it looked like she could use the hands. I went over and asked, if she needed some help, and shortly thereafter, I believe Monica walked up to the table to get something to drink, and I was standing there. So, the gentleman that I am, asked if she wanted something to drink, and she looked at me and she said, "Oh yeah, I want something to drink."
Because I was thirsty.
You were thirsty?
Yes, that's what it was.
What
I was kind of thinking, you know what?
Really didn't have a whole lot of conversation that initial interaction.
You were really gentleman-like.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the first interaction of the night.
Yeah, I saw you walking, and then I took it upon myself to introduce myself.
And let me tell you, when he introduced himself, this is some game, y'all. Okay, this is some game.
Get your popcorn. I hope y'all got your popcorn.
So he went to shake my hand, right? And so I, held my hand out. This man held my hand, and then he rubbed my knuckles.
All at one time.
He rubbed my knuckles, y'all. I said, oh my, I was taken aback.
Mm-hmm.
I said, clutch the pearls.
Extra.
This is some new game, and I don't know what that man said. All I know is that my hand was held, my knuckles was rubbed, and the next thing I know, he got my number.
Just like that.
And I was just like, okay, so he has my attention. Like, at that point, he had my attention. Then I was about to leave the event. The event was over. I have a pretty good level of self-awareness, but because it was late, it was dark, but then he appeared. And he asked to exchange numbers, and we did.
The night was winding down, people were leaving, and at the corner of my eye, I saw Monique leaving. Went outside and, asked her if maybe she wanted to grab something to eat sometime and, kind of get to know each other a little better. So
there was some communication. So after we exchanged numbers, our actual first time seeing each other after that, I believe, was at church. The first time we actually went on a date, like out to eat, was at Q39. And Anthony had brought some roses. He know I love flowers. I'm like, okay, look at you. We had some good eats and some good conversation.
Just kind of from our conversations on the phone, she seemed really genuine, someone that was easy to talk to and was intriguing, to a point where kind of drew me in, the more that I got to know her and the more I wanted to know about her and really get to know who she was, as a person outside of what I had known so far. That really kind of built upon itself in our conversations, just naturally.
Anthony was very consistent, and that's the one thing that I looked for. That's one thing that I actually needed. I needed somebody to be consistent. He also was a gentleman. That was something else that really attracted me to him. The crazy thing is just like maybe in the past, you just kind of used to people putting on, for so long. He was very consistent throughout the whole thing. But I remember thinking like, okay, he's like this now, let's see how he is 3 months in. Let's see how he is 6 months in, 9 months in, and nothing changed. And it really confronted like my things that I had going on in me, because he was the same. And it really drew me and kept me.
Naturally, there was a physical attraction, but as we got to know each other, we got to kind of peel back some of the layers a little bit and kind of know each other inwardly. And so in anticipation and excitement, to see each other, to talk, to catch up, to figure out, when we're going to be able to spend more time together with our schedules and, making it a point, being intentional about doing that and not just letting it happen whenever it happened.
And for me, I've never been the type to like people really easily or fall in love really easily. Never been that type. I started trusting him more and more and more. But what did it for me is we went on a trip for my birthday to Puerto Rico. Now you have to know, when you go out of town with somebody, that is like the ultimate test. Okay, this was the first time that we were spending consecutive days together. This is traveling, and we're not just going to St. Louis, right? We're flying, traveling can be exhausting too. So it's like you just see people in different situations. But I will say that was the safest I had ever felt. And then while we were there, I ate something bad and I threw up, and he cleaned up my throw up. By the time we got back to Kansas City, I said, oh, he's the one.
We dated for roughly about year and a half. It was really kind of, I guess easy. It really wasn't anything too stressful or strenuous. I would say we got to a point where we really were starting to get serious, and it was kind of like, okay, what's next? There were some things that she needed to figure out for herself as far as her feelings about us and kind of some hurts in the past. And so for about probably 2 or 3 weeks or so, we just kind of cut it off, because it just kind of got to a point where we couldn't move forward until she got to a place where she was able to do that. That was very frustrating because, one, I didn't see it coming. I felt like we were in a really good place. It wasn't a reflection of us. It was more a reflection of what she had gone through in the past and not resolving that. It kind of put us in a situation that I wasn't necessarily prepared for and didn't really know how to handle. I really kind of took some time to hear from God and really kind of tap in to see how he wanted me to move or not move. Kind of through that process, it kind of gave me peace of what we were doing was the right thing for me to just be still. It was a little bit, unnerving, but just kind of trusting God that this was something that was going to happen in order for us to get to that next level, or for the relationship to mature. It was something that was definitely necessary.
Yeah, because when I met Anthony, I wasn't thinking oh, I'm about to meet somebody at this event. But it wasn't until, again, like I said, he was being consistent, he was being a gentleman, we had these things in common, and things just kind of started growing and building. And I said, oh, wait, let me make sure that there's nothing lingering in the past that could negatively affect what's going on here. Because here's what I know: when somebody wants you, they are intentional, and he was very intentional, and he was not playing in my face, and I didn't want to play in his face. All my concerns of everything during that time, I just laid it all before the Lord, and I had peace. For the first time, when I prayed about somebody, the peace of God was there, and that's what I needed. If you are a person that has had past hurts or past relationships that may have scarred you, may have, kind of roughed you up, you have to be willing to acknowledge it, and you have to be willing to lay it before the Lord. To have a real intimate relationship, there is a level of vulnerability that you have to be, and you have to be willing to take that risk. But prayer and just really being honest with yourself, you got to be honest. That is what's going to help you carry you through and, move you along.
At a point, it was just kind of I really knew that she was the one. And just in my time with God and prayer and fasting, I really had peace about where we were, and that she was the person that, I was meant to marry and spend the rest of my life with.
While we were in New York, he gave me somewhat of a promise ring, saying, hey, these are my intentions.
Going into that, though, I felt the need to talk to your mom I talked to your dad, and I talked to Granny.
Oh.
Let them know what my intentions were, that I really, loved Monique and really see us having a bright future together, and would like to ask her for her hand in marriage. And I asked for their blessing.
And then we also had pre-engagement counseling. A lot of people get counseling when they get engaged, which is great. But we got counseling before the engagement as well to make sure that we were even thinking about marriage the right way.
That was really vital, I think, to our success and helping prepare us for things that we really probably didn't think about, really didn't know that we needed to think about.
Right.
And so that really kind of set the foundation and kind of groundwork for our relationship and our marriage, kind of where we were headed. We had gone to
the Omega Ball because I had always wanted to go.
The Omega Ball got over, and so we were leaving. And I told her, I was like, let's go down and see the Plaza Lights. Yeah, we were out, so it was nice little way to cap off the evening, On the way there, she starts kind of looking around. She's like, are we going to the Plaza Lights? And I said, yeah. Well, you kind of taking a different way. I was like, yeah, I'm taking a shortcut. She was like, oh, okay. And so we pulled up at the event space where the book signing was, where we initially met. And she's like, oh, I know where we are. And so pulled over and got her out the car, got down on a knee and asked her for her hand in marriage.
And I say yes. So we were engaged for a year. Engaged on New Year's Day, January 1st, and then married on New Year's Eve, December 31st. So we had a New Year's wedding, a reception, and a New Year's Eve party. Okay, all in one.
Yeah, it was awesome.
I felt it was like surreal. This was my first and only marriage, right? So it was just like, wow, this is really happening. We had a great time. We went past midnight. My bridesmaids did a dance. I'll leave it at that. We had our family there. It was a great time. And we have a blended family as well. And so it's just like a lot of adjustments, needed to be made. And like he said, sometimes you don't know until you're in it.
We have a daughter from a previous relationship of mine. Bringing Tay into the picture once we got serious was really vital and key to the growth of the three of us' relationship, our family. I was really intentional about doing that. One, I didn't want to give Tay the wrong impression and mislead her in any way, really kind of let their relationship kind of grow. Really, I would say kind of easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I couldn't have picked a better bonus daughter. I couldn't have picked a better one. Initially, I kind of felt like an outsider. It was them two, and they had their bonds, they had their routines. And so it's just like, when you are trying to blend a family, it's not business as usual. Like, everybody has to make room. When I was really kind of having a hard time, I was, kind of Googling stuff about, blended families, and there was a young lady, and she was saying that the only alone time that she was able to spend with her dad was when her dad picked her up on the way to the house. You want to be able to still nurture the individual relationships within the family. And so I'm aware of that. So it's like, okay, maybe they're downstairs cooking and they're having their time together, you know what I mean? And we're still married during this process, so we still need our time together. And then me and Tay, we have developed such a great relationship. We have our girl time. So it's just like, having those individual relationships strong has made the blended family stronger as a whole. And then the pandemic happens, right? So now we can't even go nowhere. But it really showed me that, one, we really liked each other, okay? Because you don't have all those external factors. People are not coming over. You can't really go anywhere. So you have to communicate. And so we made the best of our time together.
Yeah, I think in some ways with the pandemic, it forced us to kind of figure out how to navigate being around each other. And so, especially being so early on in our marriage, I think that was really kind of a blessing in disguise for us to kind of figure out, what works, what doesn't work.
Yeah.
Kitchen and cleaning and, just kind of house duties and, the kind of the triggers and things
Right.
that, don't necessarily, you don't think about, when you get married, but, it came up probably faster because we weren't going anywhere. So
Right.
you just have that many more dishes or
Right.
that much more cleaning to do because you're there nonstop. So
Yeah.
I would say post-marriage, most people have an idea of what marriage is supposed to be and what it's supposed to look like. While that may be true in some areas, more often than not, it's false. Like, it's not something that's real because you have, two different people and two different backgrounds and ways of going about things. And so taking on the idea of a team concept has really been key and pivotal for us. Ultimately, we want the same thing. And so really trying to keep that at the forefront of our mind when we do things or approach something.
And I would add to that, giving yourself grace as you learn, as you adjust, as you grow.
So when I look Monique in the eyes, it just gives me a feeling of security and knowing that she has my back, like regardless of what's going on, she's in my corner regardless of what's going on. If I really sit and think about it, I can get emotional because, I know there are people that don't have that or haven't experienced that. Really gives me peace in knowing that God had you for me.
Your marriage doesn't have to be a drag. It doesn't have to be laborious, like, oh my gosh, here we go. It can be a beautiful thing. And I'm glad to be experiencing that today.